Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today's video is all about topping off your seed starts or your pepper transplants. It's basically cutting the top off. What that does is it forces the plant to grow a lot more side shoots because you remove the main growing stem essentially, and the plant naturally, wherever there is a leaf, like right here going into the main stem, it sends out new growth, and this will continue to grow and produce leaves and flowers and just grow out from the sides of these main leaves. So it makes a plant more stockier, more growth out of the side. In theory, you get more flowers and more production, and that's generally true. What I did find is bell pepper plants don't really like this, and there's no need to do this for the slower growing super hots, habanero and higher. The pruning of those pepper plants doesn't do much difference. They tend to grow more slowly, but they get really stocky on their own. So just about any other variety, aside from the bells and super hots, really get some benefit from topping off the plant. Let me show you. Well, first of all, today is January 24th. These plants, I'm in Maryland Zone 7, were started towards the end of October for props so that I can show you, how to do this. So I'm really going to be starting my pepper seeds next week for plants to get out into my garden. So don't panic if you see these and think you're way behind here in Maryland Zone 7 for starting your pepper plants. I'm going to actually keep these. I'm going to keep topping them off, cutting them back, and I'm going to see how they grow over the season next year, but that's for a whole other different video. So this is a great example of a pepper plant that's been topped off, and you just go in. You'll see right there by my finger where the main stem was growing, and it was just producing a leaf, a leaf, a leaf, a leaf, and it would have kept going and just had a nice thin plant with these beautiful leaves. Flowers would come out. By cutting that top off, make sure you can see it, it forces the plant to start sending up all these side shoots. You see them coming out here wherever there was a leaf joint, and these will just continue to grow and produce just like this, big leaves coming out all different angles. Stockier plant, more flowers, more production in theory. And what I would actually do now is I would remove these big leaves and just let this grow until it's ready to go out, into my ground. That's a healthy plant. It looks a little bit beat up, but it's a stockier stem, lots of side growth. It's going to do well. Now, the age of this plant, when do you do it? So these are put in, let's just say November 1st. Today is the 24th of January. So it was at least 8 weeks of growth from germination, 8 weeks of growth. And when the plant was, that's 1 inch, 2 inch, maybe 3 inches tall, I cut the top off. Now, I cut the top off 11 days ago. This is 11 days worth of new growth, and that's the general time frame. I used to say, wait till it had like 4 sets of true leaves or whatever. Wait till, here's my hand. So, wait till this is about maybe 3 inches tall or something like that. Cut the top off, and then you'll get side shoots coming out. And just for record, it was 1 leaf, 2 leaf, 3 leaf, 4 leaves, 5 leaves, 6 leaves before I cut the top off of this. And those were the big leaves that I removed. Even though you saw 4, there were 2 down here. And that's it. You just let it go. So about 8 weeks, 3 inches, 4 to 6 main leaves, top off your pepper plant. And, give it at least 2 more weeks worth of growth indoors. This has 11 days since being topped off. I'd want another 3 days, maybe 14 to 21 days, just so the plant gets all the leaves nice and stocky, would go into the ground. You don't need to be exact with this, just kind of follow those guidelines that I gave you. Pepper plants like to go into warm soil when the soil temperature is about 60 degrees. So in theory, I would look at May, count back 10 weeks, 12 weeks, start my seeds, 8 weeks of growth, top them off, they get a couple more weeks of growth, they go into the ground. Peppers I tend to grow longer indoors. I'm trying some experiments of growing them for shorter periods of time, longer periods of time. But generally speaking, 8 to 12 weeks of growth indoors, including within that a period of time for topping them off, and they just get nice and stocky. Let me show you some more examples. I hesitate to give exact time frames because things vary so much based on the temperatures of your grow area and all that. But this is what you're looking for. After topping it off, again, 11 days, that's the growth. If you go 14 to 21 days after topping it off, you'll have plenty of leaves in here. These are going to be ready to go into the ground. And that's the process. Here's another example. Here's a good one. Right in here, you can see these are the original leaves from the stem. And I topped it off. Ooh, I just broke off that double top. Just cut them right there. And then all these side shoots. Let me get that back in the frame there. All these side shoots start coming out. Mine's the one I just broke off. And instead of growing straight up, it's going to branch out that way. It's going to branch out that way. You can make V shapes. You can shape your plants that way. Here's a good example of all the side growth. And again, at this point, I remove all these bigger leaves, and that's what I'm left with. And I will let this continue to grow, and it would get outside. So topping them off will make a sturdier, stockier plant. You'll get more main shoots growing in different directions. You can shape that into a V shape where you'll have a kind of a main stem going this way, a main stem growing this way instead of just one stem coming up. Now, if you have a long growing season, your pepper plants will naturally start putting out all these side shoots. They will become stockier. But this is something you can do while your plants are growing indoors. You get a solid plant with a great root system, nice and stocky, lots of main growing stems going, get it into your ground, your plant takes off, you get more production, more flowers, more production, and everybody's happy. Again, bell pepper plants don't love this. Super hots don't need this, but this is the basic way to top them off. So that's exactly what you end up with. I would rather put this into the ground in about a week from now with a little more leaf growth than a tall, skinny, lanky pepper plant that's 10, 12 inches tall, because I know the root system is going to support this plant. The leaves haven't grown yet, so the roots established, they get growing, they get really just a solid root foundation, and then the leaves take off after that, and this is going to be a really, really healthy pepper. That's why I like topping them off. I've done years where I didn't top them off. I've done years when I've topped them off. I've done combinations, and topping off does make a difference. Hope you enjoyed the video. Going to be doing a video actually on, let me reach over here, see if I have one. Oh, here's one. On topping off tomato plants so that I have just a thick stem with a couple main growing stems like this one. And I'm going to experiment and see if this tomato plant is stronger and better in that first 2 months of like May and June, rather than having a very tall, lanky tomato transplant. I'm going to go for a nice stocky transplant, but that's totally speculation, totally an experiment. So please subscribe and follow. I will teach you how to grow a garden for 2023. This is how you top off pepper plants, and I'll be doing experiments with other plants. Thanks for watching, and please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com.